Elena, darling, you look radiant tonight, Victoria said, her hand brushing mine like we were inseparable. Thanks, Vic, I replied, forcing a smile. You look stunning as always. She laughed softly, a sound that always felt genuine until tonight. Something in her eyes flickered, sharp, calculating. I ignored it. I didn't want to ruin the mood. Derek sidled up, a crooked grin on his face. Elena, you always outshine the chandeliers. I laughed lightly, feeling my cheeks warm. You're flattering me again. Stop. Never, he said, leaning closer. Someone has to remind you how irresistible you are. I glanced at Victoria. Her eyes narrowed for a split second before returning to a polite smile. Careful, Derek. I might start believing you. Victoria interjected, softly, almost sweetly. Elena, have you met my cousin Isabella? I turned to see a woman who looked like she stepped out of a magazine, smiling as though the world revolved around her. Pleased to meet you. Isabella's smile was sharp, too polished. I noticed a subtle glance between her and Victoria, one that sent a twinge of unease down my spine. The gala was in full swing. I floated between conversations, trying to enjoy myself. But whispers followed me. Soft laughs, hidden smirks. I shook it off, telling myself I was imagining things. Then it happened. Victoria raised her glass. Everyone, may I have your attention? The room quieted. My heart thumped. I just wanted to share a little story about Elena, she said, a sweet, honeyed tone dripping with malice. Did you all know she once, how should I put it, borrowed a designer dress without telling the owner? A ripple of laughter. I froze. Vic, what are you? Oh, don't worry, it's all in good fun, she said, her smile wide, eyes sparkling with cruelty. But it seems Elena has a habit of bending rules. And let's not forget that little incident with Mr. Carter. Gasps. Heads turned. I felt my stomach drop. Derek's grin faltered, confusion flickering across his face. That was private, I stammered. My voice shook. Vic, please. Too late, she interrupted, savoring the moment. Everyone, Elena's secrets are out. Isn't she charming? I wanted to disappear. Faces I trusted looked away. Some whispered, some laughed quietly, others stared with judgment. Victoria, why? I managed my voice tight. She leaned closer, mock sympathy in her tone. Oh, Elena, it's nothing personal. Just entertaining. The rest of the night passed in a blur. I smiled, nodded, answered polite questions, but my mind screamed betrayal. Every whisper felt like daggers. Every glance, judgment. Derek avoided my eyes. Victoria floated beside Isabella, triumphant. Liam tried to reach me from across the room, but I shook my head. Not now. Back in my room, I sank onto the bed. My hands trembled. My chest ached. How did it all go so wrong? I whispered to myself. I thought she was my friend. I thought I could trust anyone. The mirror reflected a girl I barely recognized. Humiliated, exposed, utterly alone. And yet, somewhere deep inside, a spark of something else stirred. Anger, determination, a flicker that refused to die. This wasn't the end. Not yet did I picked at my dinner. The food tasteless. My parents barely looked at me. Elena, are you okay? My mother asked, her voice tight. I'm fine, I said, forcing a smile that didn't reach my eyes. My father cleared his throat. You should move past it. People talk. It's trivial. Trivial? I wanted to laugh or scream. Trivial. I whispered, but no one heard. Later, I tried calling Derek. His voicemail greeted me, cheerful and distant. Elena? Sorry, can't talk. Catch you later. Catch me later? I muttered. You abandoned me. A soft knock. Liam stood there, hands in his pockets, hesitant. Hey, can I come in? Of course, I said, gesturing to the couch. He sat down carefully. I saw what happened at the gala. You saw what happened? I snapped. Everyone saw. I'm the joke now. Everyone I trusted turned against me. Liam flinched. I know. But you can't blame yourself. Victoria, she's complicated. I laughed bitterly. Complicated? She humiliated me. She destroyed everything. And everyone just let it happen. He leaned forward. You didn't notice the jealousy before? What do you mean? I asked, confused. Victoria, she always wanted the spotlight. And you, people loved you. You had friends, charm, she probably couldn't stand it. I looked down. I trusted her. I told her everything. I thought she was my friend. And maybe she was at first. But people change. And you, he hesitated. You didn't see the warning signs. I clenched my hands. I ignored them. I wanted to believe in the good. And look where that got me. Liam reached out, lightly touching my arm. It's not your fault. You can't control other people's choices. But I should have seen it, I said, voice cracking. I should have protected myself. You will, he said quietly. You're stronger than this, Elena. You just need time. I wanted to believe him, but the ache in my chest was sharp, constant. The betrayal didn't just sting. It burned. Every laugh, every whisper from the gala echoed in my mind. I keep thinking, did I deserve this? I admitted, voice low. Absolutely not, Liam said firmly. No one deserves this. We sat in silence. My room felt smaller than ever, the walls closing in. I thought about Victoria's smile, her enjoyment as she tore me apart. I thought about Derek avoiding me, leaving me to face the humiliation alone. And yet, somewhere inside, a spark ignited. Anger, yes, but also determination. I would survive this. I would reclaim my life. And Victoria, she wouldn't see it coming. I don't know what I'll do next, I whispered. You'll figure it out, Liam said softly. I'll help if you want. But remember, you don't need to rush. I nodded, swallowing hard. Thank you, Liam, for being here. He smiled faintly, a quiet reassurance. Always. As he left, I sat on my bed, staring at the ceiling. Tears threatened, but I didn't let them fall. Not yet. Not when I felt the first stirrings of something dangerous and powerful, a promise to myself. I would rise. I would survive. And when the time came, I would take back everything Victoria tried to steal from me. Dinner's ready, my mother called, her tone distant, almost clipped. I entered the dining room, noticing my father's gaze flick away the moment I sat down. Silence stretched between us like a fault line. Sit, my mother said, pushing a plate toward me. I hesitated. You're still angry? We're disappointed, Elena, my father said, voice low. You embarrass the family. That's all anyone's talking about. I clenched my fists under the table. Disappointed? I didn't betray anyone. Victoria did. She's not the only one responsible, my mother replied sharply. You should have handled yourself better. I pushed my plate away. Handled myself better? How? By pretending nothing happened? By letting everyone laugh at me? No answer came. The room felt colder than the night air outside. Later, I saw Derek at a cafe near my school. I approached, heart racing. Derek, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. We need to talk. He looked up, surprised, then smirked. Elena, didn't expect to see you here. Cut the act. You abandoned me when I needed you. Do you know what that feels like? I didn't abandon you, he said casually. I just stepped back. Gave you space. Space. I shot back, my voice rising. You left me to be humiliated. You smiled at her jokes while I burned inside. That's not space. That's selfishness. He leaned back, shrugging. Maybe I'm selfish, but it's not like you asked me to stay. You should have. You should have cared. I whispered, voice trembling. I trusted you. You didn't even blink when Victoria destroyed me. He looked away, silence stretching between us. I turned and walked off, feeling both pain and anger twisting inside me. Back home, Liam waited outside my room. You okay? He asked quietly. I'll survive, I said, though my voice sounded hollow. He nodded. Good. You don't need validation from fake friends, or from Derek. They aren't worth it. I leaned back against the door, thinking about his words. Liam had always been steady, the one person who reminded me I mattered. "You're right," I whispered. "I don't need them." He smiled faintly. "And you'll see. Some people are only meant to show you how strong you can become." Later, while going through messages on my phone, I stumbled on Victoria's chat with Isabella. Subtle, careful language, plotting against me, tiny betrayals hidden in casual words. I smirked, despite the bitterness. "So there's a crack in their armor," I muttered. Liam leaned against the doorframe. "Find anything interesting?" "Maybe," I said softly. "Just a glimpse enough to understand their weakness." "You always find a way," he said, eyes serious. "Even when it seems impossible." I felt the first flicker of determination. Anger still burned, but it was joined by strategy. I realized I didn't have to stay crushed. I could rise. I could reclaim what was mine. Not through desperation, but through control. "I will," I said, more to myself than him. "I'll rise. And I won't let them break me again." Liam nodded, as if he understood every word. "I'll be here. But this is yours to fight." I closed my eyes, letting the quiet swell inside me. The world had changed. People I trusted had failed. But failure didn't define me. It sharpened me. Tonight, I decided. I wasn't a victim. Not anymore. I left the city lights behind, slipping into a quiet neighborhood no one knew I visited. My apartment was small, sparse, but it felt like freedom. I didn't answer calls. I didn't attend events. I just disappeared. A soft knock startled me. I opened the door to see Olivia Grant, calm and composed as ever. "Elena, you've been avoiding everyone." "I need space," I admitted, stepping aside. "I need to think." She entered, eyes sharp. "Space is good, but hiding isn't enough. You want revenge, don't you?" I froze. "Maybe." Olivia smiled faintly. "Good. Then we start there. You'll need strategy, patience, and control. No blind anger. Understand?" I think so," I said, though my voice wavered. She handed me a notebook. "Plan. List resources. Strengths, weaknesses, alliances, enemies. Every detail matters." I took it hesitantly. "And if I fail?" "You won't," she said. "But remember, patience is power." Days turned into weeks. I met her every morning. "Control your temper," Olivia said as I practiced debates aloud. "Every word matters. Anger is a weapon only if used carefully. Otherwise, it destroys you." I frowned. "I've let my temper destroy me before." "And you'll let it build your empire now," she corrected. "Think ahead. Anticipate reactions. Predict moves." I practiced. I wrote lists of Victoria's contacts, her habits, her minor scandals. Each detail was a piece of a puzzle, each whisper a clue. One evening, Liam visited quietly. "Elena, are you sure this isn't consuming you?" I didn't look up. "I'm in control, Liam. I know what I'm doing." "Your focus, it scares me," he said softly. "Revenge is tempting, but it can blind you." I paused, finally meeting his eyes. "I've been blind for months, Liam. I trusted the wrong people. I lost everything. This time, I won't fail. I need to transform. Not just for them, for me." He nodded slowly. "I just hope you don't lose yourself in the process." "I won't," I whispered, though doubt crept in. Alone later, I stood in front of a mirror. The girl staring back looked fragile, but her eyes burned. "You will rise," I said to my reflection. "You'll take back what's yours, silently, strategically. No one will see you coming. And when they do, it'll be too late." I clenched my fists, feeling the first real flicker of power. Anger, yes, but tempered by patience. Pain, yes, but sharpened into focus. Olivia's lessons echoed. Patience is power. Observation is strength. Strategy is survival. I repeated it in my mind until it became instinct. Liam's warnings lingered. I didn't ignore him. I stored them, cataloged them, considered them. Even as I plotted, I kept a part of myself human. He was right. Revenge could consume me if I let it. but I wouldn't let it.
Not now.
I turned back to my notes, reviewing every detail of Victoria's network, Isabella's whispers, Derek's weaknesses. I traced lines between people, connections, opportunities. Each moment of humiliation, each whisper of betrayal fueled my strategy rather than my sorrow. By the end of the night, I no longer saw a victim in the mirror. I saw a strategist, patient, precise, untouchable in her silent fury. Tomorrow, the world would see a different Elena, and the shadows I embrace now would become my strongest allies. The gala hall glittered with chandeliers and whispered secrets. I stepped in a new persona, calm and composed. No one recognized the girl who once trembled under scrutiny. "Who's that?" a voice murmured nearby. I smiled faintly. "That's Elena Whitmore," someone replied, as if introducing me to the room for the first time. Derek's eyes widened across the hall. He froze mid-conversation, then tried to compose himself. I crossed the room slowly, letting my presence be noticed. "Elena," he said, disbelief lacing his tone. "Is that really you?" "Yes, Derek," I said, tilting my head slightly. "Surprised to see me?" He cleared his throat. I didn't expect. You didn't expect I'd rise?" I interrupted softly. "Or that I'd enjoy this moment as much as I do?" His face flushed, and I savored it silently. The humiliation he ignored before now ricocheted back to him. Victoria floated nearby, laughing with her usual arrogance. I observed her, noting how she scanned the room, unaware I was here. I sidled up to a mutual acquaintance, Sophia Lane. "Have you heard about Victoria's latest dealings?" I asked casually. Sophia blinked. "What do you mean?" "Oh, nothing scandalous, just curious how she manages her business connections." "Some whispers say not everything is as it seems," I said, voice light, teasing, planting seeds. Sophia nodded slowly, intrigued. "Really?" "Really," I replied, smiling faintly. "But perhaps it's just gossip. Hard to know what's true in these circles, isn't it?" Meanwhile, Victoria glanced toward me, suspicion flickering for a brief moment before she laughed it off. Her underestimation amused me. Derek approached again, voice low. "Elena, you're different. You seem untouchable." "I've had time to learn," I said softly, eyes steady on his. "Time to understand people, patterns, and patience." "Do you remember patience, Derek?" He swallowed, nodding slowly. Yes." I moved through the room, exchanging light words with acquaintances. Every conversation subtly hinted at Victoria's arrogance and her potential flaws. Whispers spread like wildfire, unnoticed by her, but noticed by those paying attention. A champagne glass rested in my hand. I raised it to Liam when he appeared beside me. "You look pleased with yourself," he murmured. "I am," I whispered. "But I must stay patient. Too early, and it could backfire." "You're playing a dangerous game," he said softly. "But I think you've changed. I think you can win." I smiled faintly, letting the thrill wash over me. It's not just about winning. It's about control. Influence. Watching those who underestimated me falter. That's the reward. Victoria's laugh cut across the hall. I caught her eye and smiled faintly, polite but edged with quiet menace. She recoiled slightly, as if sensing a shift she couldn't name. I walked away, passing Derek again. "Remember," I said quietly, "the smallest gestures can unravel the biggest plans." He nodded, but I could see uncertainty flicker in his eyes. That uncertainty was mine now. A tool, a weapon, a thrill I hadn't experienced before. By the end of the evening, I stood in the corner, surveying the room. Victoria unaware, Derek unsettled, whispers spreading quietly. Every glance, every overheard phrase worked in my favor. I touched the rim of my glass, feeling power coursing quietly beneath calm composure. Patience, strategy, control. That was my game now, and I would play it to perfection. The shadows I had embraced weren't just hiding me. They were shaping me into someone untouchable. And tonight, the game truly began. I stepped into the quiet cafe, spotting Ethan at a corner table. He looked up, surprise flashing across his face. "Elena," he said, cautious. "I didn't expect you here." "Ethan," I replied, sliding into the seat opposite him. "We need to talk." "About Victoria?" he asked, leaning back. I nodded. "Yes. And about alliances. Some people underestimate her, too many. We can use that." He raised an eyebrow. "Use it how exactly?" "I've observed patterns," I said quietly. "Her arrogance blinds her. She trusts those who serve her ego, but she ignores subtle threats." Ethan smirked. "Sounds like she's already halfway to falling apart. Why are you telling me this?" "Because you can help," I said, voice steady. "And I can help you. Together, we navigate her network quietly, influence her without her realizing." He studied me for a long moment. "You've changed." "I had to," I said softly. "Pain changes you. Betrayal changes you. And patience refines you." Later, I found Isabella alone in a lounge, scrolling through her phone. "Fancy seeing you here," I said, smiling lightly. She looked up, startled. "Elena? What are you doing?" "Talk," I interrupted gently. "I know about Victoria's little schemes. You don't have to follow blindly. There's a better path." Her eyes narrowed. "And why would you care?" "I don't," I said honestly. "But if you make smarter choices, it benefits you. And maybe you keep a little dignity intact." She hesitated, then nodded. "Maybe you're right. I'll listen." I leaned back, satisfied. Subtle persuasion worked better than confrontation. Later that evening, Liam called softly. "Elena, are you pushing too far? Alliances can be dangerous." "I know," I replied, tracing patterns on my notebook. "But I'm careful. I only nudge. I don't force." "You've always been careful," he said. "Just don't lose yourself in the process." "I won't," I said, though I knew the line was thin. Even as I play, I need to stay humane. Over the next few days, I gathered small victories. A whispered doubt to Victoria's confidant here, a subtle suggestion to an ally there. Every move felt like a chess game. One evening, I caught a snippet of conversation between Victoria and a minor associate. She was panicking over a mismanaged deal, tiny cracks forming where arrogance had always shielded her. I smiled softly. Karma had a way of working quietly. The world seemed to shift in small, satisfying ways, even without my interference. Ethan observed me. "You enjoy this too much," he said lightly. "I enjoy control," I replied. "Not destruction. There's a difference." "Difference?" he asked, curious. "Yes," I said. "I want her to see the consequences of her choices, but I don't want to become her. Patience, strategy, subtlety. That's enough." Liam's voice lingered in my mind. "Stay humane. Stay focused." I closed my notebook, taking a deep breath. Alliances were forming, the board was set, and every conversation, every persuasion, was a step closer to reclaiming control. Victoria remained blind, her arrogance my greatest ally. And while I balanced revenge with restraint, I realized something important. Power wasn't about hurting people. It was about moving silently, influencing events, and letting the world reveal its own justice. I leaned back in my chair, sipping tea. Karma had begun, subtle, unstoppable, and I was ready to guide it. The business hall buzzed with chatter, glasses clinking, deals being whispered. I spotted Victoria across the room, her posture tense, eyes scanning for me. "Elena," she called, feigning surprise. "I didn't expect to see you here so soon." I smiled softly, tilting my head. "I heard you were hosting tonight. I thought I'd see how business is really managed." Her lips tightened. "I don't know what you mean." "Oh, come now," I said lightly, leaning in. "I've heard whispers, Victoria. Some things don't add up." She froze for a moment, then laughed, sharp and forced. "You must be imagining things. You always were dramatic." "I imagine very little," I replied calmly. "I observe, and observation reveals the truth." Derek appeared beside her, looking uneasy. Elena, Save it, I said firmly, stepping closer. You abandoned me once. I'm not your convenient charity case now. He flinched. I just wanted to explain. Explain? I cut in. You left me humiliated. You smiled while Victoria destroyed me. That wasn't explanation material, it was selfishness. Pure and simple. He avoided my gaze, silence stretching between us. Victoria's laughter returned, brittle, almost unconvincing. You've changed, she said, voice low. I don't know if I like it. I've learned patience, I said quietly. And strategy. Two things you clearly underestimate. Her assistant approached, whispering in her ear. She frowned, then shot me a sharp glance. It was the first crack I'd seen in her armor tonight. I moved through the crowd, exchanging light words with business associates. Each sentence planted subtle doubt about Victoria's competence. Some smiled politely, others raised their eyebrows. Small fractures formed. Liam's voice echoed in my mind. Trust must be earned carefully. I noticed an associate lingering too close to Victoria, listening more than speaking. Later, I made a quiet note. Alliances aren't always clear. Derek followed me at a distance. You're relentless, he said quietly. I'm focused, I replied, eyes scanning the room. And I've grown. I don't rely on people who falter when things get difficult. He nodded slowly. I see that. I wish I'd realized sooner. Too late, I said, voice firm. The past doesn't change, Derek. But I do. Victoria approached again, her voice icy. Do you think subtle whispers can undermine me? You're naive if you do. Naive? I asked, smiling faintly. I call it patience, strategy, influence, things you never bothered to learn. Her jaw tightened. You'll pay for this. Perhaps, I said softly, letting the words hang. But maybe you'll pay yourself, through the cracks you refuse to see. I glanced at Derek, who avoided my gaze, then at Victoria, whose confidence wavered ever so slightly. Small victories, I thought. Subtle, invisible victories. By the end of the evening, I walked away with the knowledge that cracks in her empire were forming. Patience, observation, and strategy, my weapons, my armor. Liam would be proud. Or concerned. Either way, I was no longer the frightened girl from months ago. I was growing stronger, untouchable in ways she could neither see nor stop. The night ended, and I realized betrayal had taught me patience, and patience would become my most powerful ally. The headlines weren't subtle this time. Victoria Delaney's latest investment collapses. Partners withdraw support. I sipped my coffee, letting the satisfaction settle quietly. She's unraveling, Ethan murmured, leaning against the counter. Careful, I said, voice soft. Enjoying it too much can be dangerous. Observation first, satisfaction second. He nodded. You always were clever. Later, at a charity auction, I spotted Victoria attempting to rally support for a new project. Her forced smile faltered under whispered skepticism from her guests. I approached casually, greeting mutual acquaintances. Victoria, lovely event, I said lightly. I hope your projects find success this time. Her eyes flickered, sharp. Elena, you seem to be everywhere these days. Perhaps, I said softly. Or perhaps people notice what's genuine and what's forced. A laugh from an associate caught her off guard. Is that true, Elena? He asked. I heard there were discrepancies in her last deal. I raised an eyebrow. Innocently. I wouldn't know. But it's worth asking. Victoria's composure wavered. I smiled faintly, stepping back to let whispers spread. Her arrogance made her vulnerable. Later, Ethan leaned in. You're manipulating without touching a finger. I call it subtle influence, I said, calm. Sometimes the world works better when it's guided, not forced. Derek appeared uneasy. Elena, you're making me nervous. She's unraveling. I warned you, I said softly. Arrogance blinds people. Control comes from patience, not shouting. We watched Victoria struggle to manage a public disagreement between her associates. She snapped, sharply, trying to assert authority. The room flinched. She lost credibility. She doesn't realize how far she's fallen, I said quietly. She's still dangerous, Ethan cautioned. Don't let satisfaction blind you. I won't, I said. Every action I take is measured. Every whisper, every observation counts. The rest is natural consequence. Later, Liam called softly. Are you okay? Watching her lose control, does it bring peace or pain? I hesitated. Both, I admitted. It's satisfying, yes. But it's a reminder of how betrayal cuts, how carelessness ruins trust. I have to remain balanced. Moral restraint is my true power. You're right, he said. Control, not vengeance, defines you now. During another event, Victoria confronted me in private. Elena, are you behind all this? I smiled lightly. I wouldn't call it behind. I observe. I influence. Sometimes life shows its own justice. She glared, speechless. Her arrogance cracked, leaving panic barely concealed. Walking away, I felt the lingering warmth of quiet satisfaction. Karma was working subtly, precisely. Every misstep Victoria made was magnified by her own flaws. I reviewed my notebook later, tracing small victories, mismanaged deals, whispered doubts, strategic errors. Nothing I touched directly could be proven, yet every ripple traced back to her hubris. Liam's voice lingered in my mind. Patience, observation, restraint. I realized this was my strength. I could influence without exposing myself, shaping consequences without becoming the monster I fought against. I smiled at my reflection in the mirror. The girl who once trembled at gossip was gone. The strategist remained, composed, intelligent, and silent in her fury. Tonight, justice had its course, subtle and unrelenting. And I had mastered the art of letting the world balance itself while keeping my own hands clean. Victoria's office was pristine, everything arranged perfectly, as if control could mask chaos. She looked up when I entered, eyes narrowing. Elena, she said, voice tight. You've been everywhere lately. What do you want? I came for conversation, I said calmly. A private one. She tilted her head, skeptical. Private? With you? Yes, Victoria. I know more than you think. Her lips pressed into a thin line. More? Do tell. I stepped closer, keeping my voice low. I know about the deals you hid from your partners. I know about Isabella's involvement. I know how you underestimated me, your arrogance blinding you. Her eyes widened, then flicked away, restless. That's impossible. How? Observation, patience, and listening, I interrupted. You left traces everywhere. Every misstep, every whispered word, it added up. I didn't need to be involved directly. Your mistakes spoke for themselves. She laughed, brittle, but it didn't reach her eyes. You think you're clever. Do you think this makes you powerful? I think it makes me free, I said softly. And careful. Power isn't shown through force or arrogance. It's quiet, precise, unnoticed until it's too late. Her hands trembled slightly as she clutched her desk. You've been manipulating everyone. You've turned allies into spies. I smiled faintly. No manipulation needed. People show their true selves when they think no one is watching. I merely noticed. You're playing a game, she whispered, panic creeping into her voice. Perhaps, I said softly, but it's a game you taught me to play. I only learned from your mistakes. She looked away, lips quivering. I can fix this. I can. You can't undo what's been set in motion, I said firmly. Patience, Victoria. You should have learned that when you underestimated me. Her breathing quickened. You were humiliated once. You should be angry, desperate. I admitted. But I chose restraint. Observation. Strategy. That's far more effective than rash vengeance. Her hands dropped to the desk, trembling. You know everything. And yet you don't destroy me? Destroying you would make me like you, I said quietly. And I refuse to be that person. I choose control.
subtlety.
Influence without exposure. That's true power. Her eyes filled with something like fear or maybe realization. She wasn't in control anymore. Every thread she relied on was slipping, quietly, invisibly. I don't understand, she whispered. How did you come back so strong? I survived, I said softly. I observed. I learned. I grew. And I realized betrayal teaches patience, and patience becomes power. She slumped back in her chair, silent, unraveling in ways I couldn't have forced. The satisfaction was quiet, not loud or malicious, but deep, rooted in justice, consequence, and lessons finally understood. I turned toward the door. Remember this moment, Victoria. Your arrogance had limits. I exceeded them. Not with cruelty, but with control. That's the difference between you and me. She didn't reply. She couldn't. As I left the office, my chest swelled with quiet triumph, yet pain lingered, reminders of past humiliation, betrayal, and loss. Victory felt sweet, but not without its shadow. Control, strategy, patience. That was my reward. And I had earned it. I sat in the quiet of my apartment, the city lights painting shadows across the walls. The journey felt long, the scars deep, but I had survived. Derek's voice broke the silence as he appeared at the door. Elena, can we talk? I looked at him, calm, measured. We can. But understand this. I'm not the girl who needed your protection anymore. He swallowed. I know. I regret leaving you. I didn't realize. You didn't realize because you never paid attention. I interrupted softly. I needed someone who stood with me, not beside Victoria. You failed. I survived anyway. His eyes softened, a shadow of guilt flickering. I see that now. You've changed. Stronger, smarter. I've learned patience, Derek. Observation. Control. And I don't need your validation anymore, I said firmly. He nodded, silent, accepting it. No apologies could change the past, but acknowledgement was enough. Later, Liam joined me, sitting quietly across from my desk. You've grown, he said gently. But I worry. Revenge, obsession, you've balanced it well, but never forget humanity. I haven't forgotten, I replied softly. I've just learned it comes with boundaries. Control isn't cruelty. Observation isn't manipulation. And patience isn't weakness. He smiled faintly. I'm proud of you, Elena. You turned pain into strength, betrayal into strategy. You've earned your peace. I have, I said quietly, reflecting on the months that changed me. I'm not the girl who trembled at whispers or bent under judgment. I've faced humiliation, isolation, and deceit. And I've risen. Olivia appeared next, her presence calm, commanding. You've done well. Strategy, patience, subtlety, you've transformed. I nodded. Your guidance taught me more than tactics. You taught me to harness power without losing myself. She studied me, eyes sharp. You have control, Elena. But remember, humility and reflection are as important as influence. I understand, I said, feeling the weight of her words. And I've learned them all. I reflected on Victoria, once untouchable, now humbled. Her arrogance fractured, her empire weakened. I hadn't destroyed her, but her own flaws did. Silence had been my greatest weapon, patience my ally. I never wanted to hurt her unnecessarily, I admitted quietly to myself. But I needed justice. And I found it in the quiet, subtle ways the world allowed. Derek, Liam, and Olivia's presence reminded me of the support I had. Not blind loyalty, but truth, guidance, and care. I picked up a photograph from my desk, an old memory with friends and laughter that had once felt genuine. The girl in that picture seemed distant, fragile. The eyes staring back now were sharper, more aware, capable of navigating betrayal without losing herself. I've come far, I whispered. I've survived humiliation, lies, and abandonment. And now, I stand here, stronger than ever. The apartment was silent again, shadows stretching across the floor. But the silence was no longer empty. It was full of lessons, of strength, and of quiet triumph. I smiled faintly, closing my eyes. The past was behind me. Victoria's arrogance had crumbled. Derek's mistakes were acknowledged. Liam's support remained steady. Olivia's wisdom had guided me. I was no longer defined by betrayal, humiliation, or doubt. I was defined by resilience, patience, and self-respect. Tonight, I let the shadows of the past settle where they belonged. I was whole. I was untouchable. And I was finally at peace. The room buzzed with quiet chatter as the event began, but I walked in with calm certainty. This was my world now, my presence noticed, respected, yet unthreatened. "Elena," Ethan greeted me warmly. "It's good to see you here, commanding the room as always." I smiled lightly. "It feels natural this time, Ethan. No pretenses, no fear, just presence." He chuckled. "You've come a long way from that fragile girl months ago." "I have," I said softly. "And I don't forget it. Every moment, every betrayal, every lesson that brought me here." Liam appeared, his expression gentle yet proud. "You're untouchable, Elena. Not just in reputation, but in spirit. That's rare." "I've learned," I replied. "Strength isn't loud. Control isn't visible. And dignity is untouchable when it's truly yours." Victoria lingered across the hall, a shadow of her former arrogance. She caught my gaze briefly, and I saw regret, hesitation, and a flicker of understanding. Not revenge, not malice, just acknowledgement that the game had changed. I moved toward Isabella, who smiled nervously. "Elena, I want to thank you," she said, "for guidance subtle as it was. I see things clearly now." "You chose to see clearly," I said softly. "I only offer perspective. The rest was your own choice." Derek approached cautiously, hands slightly raised. "Elena, I never realized how much I underestimated you. You've truly become someone remarkable." "Thank you," I said calmly. "But understand, Derek. Respect is earned, not assumed. And I've earned mine through patience, observation, and resilience, not through your approval." He nodded slowly. "I see that. And I regret my past selfishness. I hope one day we can find some understanding." "You already have it," I replied, smiling faintly. "Acknowledgement is enough. The rest belongs to the past." Olivia appeared beside me, arms crossed, expression unreadable. "You've mastered control, Elena. Subtlety, influence, and patience, all without losing yourself." "I learned from the shadows," I said softly. "They taught me patience, awareness, and resilience. They were my allies when trust failed." Liam's hand brushed mine briefly. "You've balanced power and integrity. That's a rare achievement." I realized something important, I admitted quietly. Strength isn't about taking everything from others. It's about reclaiming yourself, standing firm, and letting consequences unfold naturally. That's real power. The room continued its chatter, but it no longer intimidated me. Every glance, every whisper, every smile acknowledged my presence and influence without needing force. Victoria's fall, subtle and inevitable, reminded me that arrogance and deceit always have limits. But I had not gloated. My victory was quiet, dignified, untouchable in its restraint. I paused, reflecting on months of betrayal, lessons, and growth. Each scar had become a mark of strength, each loss a step toward awareness, each silence a tool for patience. "I'm untouchable," I whispered internally. Not because I destroyed others, but because I survived, learned, and stood tall while maintaining integrity. Ethan, Liam, Olivia, and even Isabella had witnessed parts of this journey. Their respect, tentative acknowledgement, and admiration were reminders that true power required more than cunning. It required heart, restraint, and unwavering self-respect. I straightened, feeling the calm warmth of victory settle within me. My life, my choices, my dignity. They were mine, untouchable, unshakable. Tomorrow would bring challenges, as life always does. But tonight, I was whole, powerful, and unassailable. My past had shaped me, betrayal had tested me, and I had emerged untouchable. I stood on the balcony, city lights stretching before me like scattered stars. Across the street, I saw Victoria, sitting at a cafe alone, scrolling her phone with a distracted expression. The arrogance that once defined her was gone. Her shoulders slumped slightly, regret written in every line of her posture. "She's different now," Liam said quietly beside me, his voice soft in the cool night air. "Yes," I murmured. "Consequences have a way of humbling even the proud." But I didn't interfere directly. "She's facing herself." Liam leaned against the railing, eyes thoughtful. "You could have destroyed her completely, but you didn't. That takes strength." "I realized long ago," I said, glancing at him, "that true victory isn't about hurting others. It's about reclaiming yourself, standing tall, and letting the world balance itself. That's real power." He nodded. "And you've done it. You've become untouchable, Elena. Not through revenge alone, but through who you've become." I smiled faintly, a quiet warmth spreading through me. "It feels different, doesn't it? Freedom without chaos. Respect without fear. Validation without dependence." Liam chuckled softly. "I'm glad you see it that way. Most would still chase revenge, blind to what they've earned." I was tempted, I admitted. There were moments I wanted to humiliate, to show, but patience taught me more. Silence became my weapon. Observation became my strength. And now, I look toward Victoria once more. Now, I just watch. No gloating. No interference. She faces her own reflection. He reached out, brushing my hand lightly. "And what about forgiveness?" I considered that, watching Victoria sip her coffee quietly, shoulders hunched, isolation wrapping around her like a cloak. "Forgiveness is complex," I said softly. "It doesn't mean forgetting, but it means no longer letting the past control me. I forgive because I am free now, and because I need peace, not bitterness." "Peace suits you," he said, smiling. I leaned back, letting the night air fill me with calm. My journey, my scars, my growth, they all culminated here. Every betrayal, every humiliation, every whispered doubt had shaped me into someone untouchable. Not by fear or dominance, but through patience, self-worth, and inner transformation. "Do you ever think about them?" Liam asked quietly. "Sometimes," I admitted, "but not with anger. Only with clarity. The world now treats me differently, but it's not recognition I seek. It's self-respect, and that no one can take." He nodded, understanding. Silence stretched comfortably between us, filled with reflection, achievement, and quiet triumph. I turned my gaze to the horizon, letting the city lights wash over me. The past had shaped me, the betrayals had tested me, and now I was whole, silent, powerful, untouchable, and finally at peace.